This is Wade, and you are in Wade World. So today we're going to continue our series on books, and let's see. It seems a lot of you like politics more than books, but this is a very interesting and funny book, and this book is called Discworld. So the second book that Wade is reviewing is also about a world that is shaped differently than Earth. And these are a series of novels by a British writer, and the humor is very British. This world is a world that is shaped like a disc, and it has a sun and a moon that go around it, and it stands on the back of four elephants who are giant elephants, who are themselves standing on the back of a giant turtle swimming through space. So this has got a lot of things common with old mythology of what the world was. There are mythologies that say the world is a disc, flat disc, and it's being held up by four elephants on the shell of a giant turtle. So anyway, Discworld, this is a very fun novel. This is a very fun series of books. It has magic, it has humor, it's got ridiculous things like silly wizards, trolls made of stone, then vampires, heroes, an 80-year-old hero who was very, very, very strong and very tough. Because again, remember, this is a magical story, this is a magical world. It's got very interesting characters, and as the universe develops, these characters develop as well. But magic and its silliness plays a very important part. And the magic here, the wizards are not like the wizards in some of the other books that we will be talking about, like Lord of the Rings or even Harry Potter. These wizards are like silly, and they have a tenuous grasp on magic, and they go to a university, so it's very academic. And let's see. It's been a while since Wade read Discworld, but it's just such a great series of books that Wade thought I would. Wade thought Wade would definitely review it. So the book starts off with a character called Rincewind. So if Wade remembers correctly, Rincewind is a wizard that was thrown out of wizard school or flunked out, and he has a very cynical outlook on life. He's middle aged. There was a movie made that we couldn't get through because they showed Brinksman as some 60, 65-year-old dude. So that guy got the part. Due to nepotism, and we're just guessing because in the books he's definitely not 60, 65. He's in his late 30s. So the book starts off with Rincewind and just exploring the world. It's a disc world, it's flat, it has ice walls around the edges, and then a giant waterfall flowing off into space, and then on the top of four elephants, on the top of a giant turtle. Unseen University, Wade is pretty sure that's what it's called, is the university that is the University of Magic. It's at the center of where Rincewind lives. And then there are different regions in the Discworld, obviously, because it is Discworld. And it starts off very funnily enough in the first novel with the first tourist in Discworld in the city of Rincewind, who is called Two Flower, so Zweiblumen. So here's an interesting observation that you might notice if you read these when you read these books, in that in the first book, Two Flower is described as a very German character, and in the rest of the books, Two Flower becomes Chinese. And no explanation is given for this, but you can see very, very clearly in the first book the British are making fun of German tourists, and then the rest, as the books and the series continue, they suddenly transition into a Chinese tourist. So the book is humorous, it's funny, it's all right for children. It requires advanced reading, so it's not like some, unless you're exceptional, it's not like some 4 or 5-year-old is going to read it. But it starts off with this ridiculous concept that nobody really visits the city or the state where Rincewind lives because it's considered like such a scammy, dystopian, third worldish kind of place. Um, People who have lived in Britain in the 19th, 18th, 17th centuries, they know the poverty. We're looking at like Tom Sawyer and not Tom Sawyer, Oliver Twist levels of description. It's very, very interesting. So this two flower, he gets off a boat and he's like, I'm a tourist, and nobody understands what a tourist is. And they're like, why are you here? He's like, I want to see your city, your nation or your city, your state. And they're like, why? Um, it's a little funny that he's immediately almost scammed, but Rincewind saves him. And then he says to Rincewind, and so Two Flower is like a very, very trusting, naive guy. So he immediately hires Rincewind for an outrageous sum of gold because he has no concept and he is the first tourist from his closed kingdom to Rincewind's kingdom. So they have no concept of money, and he hires Rincewind for what he considers to be a very reasonable sum of gold, but he doesn't understand that would make anybody in this place insanely wealthy. What's interesting is the third character here, which is not even a human being. It's a magical chest that has 100 tiny legs and is insanely strong and can eat people. But also, if you open it, it can give you clothes. If you open something else, open it another way, it can give you what you require, and then it can eat people with giant teeth. So that's the traveling companion of Two Flowers. Two Flowers is this naive man, sweet, naive, well-intentioned man whose protection is basically this giant, violent, very fast, ferocious, non-talking chest that walks on tiny, 100 tiny legs. Already it sounds funny, doesn't it? And then Rincewind, who's very cynical, but he's not bad at heart. So the first funny thing that happens in the story is that Two Flower is taken to a bar of ill repute by Rincewind because Rincewind is also somewhat foolish, and he explains to the bar person, the barman, that the concept of insurance exists and he can insure his bar. So remember, this is like a very low trust society. So what he's telling the barman is, you can give me a little bit of money right now and sign this insurance contract, and I will insure your bar for like 100 times what it's worth. And if anything happens to your bar, I'll pay it out. So the barman immediately signs the contract, gives him the money, and then burns down his bar and gets the payment and runs away with the money. So this is giving you an idea of the level of society that Terry Pratchett, that's the writer, that he's describing, right? It's pretty hilarious. Then Unseen University, it's full of incompetent wizards. I believe there is the chancellor of the university, principal of the university, whatever, president of the university, and the chancellor, I believe. And they are also in the first book recording some anomalies in the magic that they are performing. And you're going to have to read this because, again, Wade read this a long time ago. So the highlights, this is what a good book is, right? If you read a good book a long time ago and it's funny and it's interesting, and you can still remember some of the highlights, that has left an emotional impact on you. That definitely means that it's worth reading. And also on the concept of reading itself, when you're reading something, why it's more important to read than to watch something is because it makes you use your mind and your brain, which definitely makes you slightly more intelligent. You're not going to just become a genius if you have average intelligence by reading endless books, but you're going to reach the upper limit of your brain's capability because, for example, if you look at the movie that is based on the book, it just shows you all these characters in a very specific way, and that is the vision of the director of the movie. But when you're reading a book, right, you have to imagine what Rincewind looks like, what Two Flower looks like, what that box with giant teeth and hundreds of little legs moving around and eating people who threaten Two Flower looks like. what the wizards look like, what the Discworld look like. And the more you have to imagine, the more you use your mind, and the more you use your mind, the faster it gets, the smarter you get. So anyway, the story continues in that this unseen university has a problem with magic. The wizards are in trouble. Now this barman has burned down his bar and run away with the insurance money that Two Flower naively paid out. This is like a shortcut, right? Two Flower, high trust society. Richmond, very low trust society. So immediately you see the clash of cultures. And then there are a lot of very interesting characters throughout the story. Another character that comes to mind during the story is the hero. So in this world, heroes are usually big, strong men who are simple minded but fearless and dashing and good looking, and they just slay dragons and make love to maidens and don't really give a damn. So the hero that we come across is a hero of legend. In the legends, he's described as being tall, broad shouldered, beautiful, long haired, and he's, killed many monsters, amassed a lot of treasure, made love to many young girls, and has lots of children spread over, but he never stays in one place. And when we meet this hero, he's 80-year-old, he's short, he's shrunk, because that's what happened in old age. He's bald, he's lost his teeth, so he has a lisp, he talks like this, and he's skinny. But surprisingly, age has not made him weak, it has only toughened him, and he is very tough, extremely tough. And the theme that this book hits on is very realistic because Rincewind, Two Flower, and the Chest of Broad, they rescue this very young girl, maybe she's 18 or something. And as she's traveling with them, they come across this hero, and the first thing he does is he sees the chest, right? The traveling chest, and he immediately attacks this very dangerous chest, which at that point has eaten a lot of people, and it's a magical chest, it's ridiculously strong and vicious, but the 80-year-old hero, he attacks it, and the chest men fight, and it's a draw. And throughout the course of the story, the 18-year-old girl, instead of ending up with someone closer to her age or even Richmond, she chooses the 80-year-old man because, as you can see, masculinity. And one of the themes of this story is, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler, so you can skip it in three, two, one, that he fixes his lisp by getting a set of dentures made from diamonds, which is insane, which gives him a dazzling smile. And this might be the first story itself. Another very interesting character that develops in this story is Captain Carrot Iron Founderson. And there is a clash between the old man and his gang of old heroes and Captain Carrot and his police people or something. Because this old man is going to challenge the gods. So he's going to climb up the mountain where the gods live. And the gods actually live on this world. They're well known. And he's going to challenge them because he's almost done everything else and he's pretty upset at what they've done to him. And he comes across Captain Carrot. I'm Founderson now. Captain Carrot is a very naive, very tall, 6'6", hugely strong, red-haired, like prime of health man, and good-hearted. So think like a Superman, right? And very interesting throughout the books, the later books, Captain Carrot. His simplicity and his story is also fleshed out. Interesting things in this world that develop, and this really shows the mind of the writer. It works in interesting ways, and it's knowledgeable. Is the trolls are made of stone, and they're exceedingly violent and stupid. However, they will work if you give them simple work. In one of the later books, there are there are many characters that come in this world. For example, there is character of Inspector Wines, who's a policeman, the only, one of the few honest-ish policemen in a very corrupt society. His sidekicks, there's a fat one, there's one that's called a Nobby, who barely looks human. This is very British humor, right? There is a thief and a con man who's made the head of the postal service. Going postal, that's not a book. Very good, very good. In one of the stories of this postal guy, he's locked in a freezing cave with a troll. And as the temperature drops, the trolls speak normally like with grunts like, me do, you go. And as the temperature drops, and they're both in this very cold cave. So this, and they can't get out. And this uh, character who's trying to fix the post office, he's been given that duty. He's in danger of freezing. But the troll suddenly starts speaking very lucidly and coherently. For example, instead of saying "me do," there's some statement or comment that this postal guy makes. He told us that, yes, I agree with you. That is quite astute to something. And he's shocked, like, wow, how did you start speaking like that? And apparently, it seemed like the reason the trolls are stupid is because they're made out of rock, out of silicon. And due to the normal temperature around them, their brains slow down to a crawl, which is exactly what happens with computers, not at normal temperature, because computers can definitely, the chips inside can work at 70, 80 degrees Celsius, which is a very, very high level temperature in Fahrenheit. We're talking like high triple digits. But in this story, even the normal day-to-day temperature really slows them down. But the colder it gets, the smarter the troll gets. And we're talking like super genius level of intellect. So this is a world which is magic, it's silliness, it's funny, a lot of ridiculous characters, a lot of fun to read, a lot of fun to revisit. The wizards themselves are a completely separate and ridiculous cast of characters. The history of how magic came into the world, ridiculous. The gods are ridiculous. It's just a very, very enjoyable series of stories. And just like we talked about Ringworld, which started off with the first novel as being slightly light-hearted and silly, and then evolved into philosophical and slightly serious. So does this world, but not to that degree. This world still retains some of its silliness across the many books, but as time goes on, it definitely gets a little more philosophical, a little less silly, but it keeps that element of fun and campiness all throughout. These other offshoots that Wade is telling you about, not to do with Rincewind, is the Captain Wimes Inspector stories and the Going Postal, that individual stories. Forgetting the name, it was a very, very fun name. Even the names are very fun. As you can see, Captain Carrot, Two Flower, and there's a sequence in the story where they actually, due to some accident, they are jumping through dimensions, and Two Flower actually ends up in our dimension on a plane, and he's called Professor Zweigblum. So this is Zweigblum and his Two Flower in German. So this world is a very nice book to read if you want something light, if you want something funny, if you want something memorable, if you like magic and adventure, and you just want to have a relaxing read and let your mind go. It's one of the best books that can be adapted into a story, into a movie, and with the right casting, this could be a very, very fun endeavor and a very fun movie to make and also to star in. Because the character of Rincewind, for example, Rincewind is not like a good looking, handsome, dashing hero. The hero is himself. He's 80 now, right? So he's not some good looking, dashing hero. So think more like the guy that played Gandhi, that guy would be good in that role as a hero, the bald hero. You've got many candidates for playing Captain Carrot. He's got a very small role at the end. And then Richmond himself, like a very cynical, average, late 30s guy, somewhat maybe balding. There's multiple actors you can get for them. And the best part of the casting would be the box, the traveling chest. But Discworld, if you've not read it, it's a fantastic book to read. You're going to have a lot of fun reading it. By Terry Pratchett, and Wade can definitely recommend it. It's got fun, it's light-hearted, and it's good reading overall. So a rare recommendation from Wade. Until next time, there's a lot of books Wade has to tell you about, and let's see how interested you are. So until next time, keep it cool, keep it smart, and as always in Wade World, enjoy.